This is the Wide Format Impressions broadcast.
Welcome back to the broadcast. I'm Dan Marks. The 2025 Printing United Expo, October 22nd to 24th in Orlando, is approaching quickly. The opportunity-rich, filled-to-the-walls event offers much to see, consider, and purchase. But it offers so much more than just a standard trade show. Education, community, hands-on opportunities, explorable adjacencies, and access to industry experts make the Expo a must-attend experience. To learn more about how the Expo can benefit print industry professionals across the board, we're delighted to welcome Chris Curran, VP, Group President, Media and Events at Printing United Alliance. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
Hey, let's start with the scale of this year's Printing United Expo. So how much floor space, how many exhibitors, how many attendees?
Sure. It's actually really exciting. We have over 1 million square feet for the entire industry to fill this year. Super exciting that we're going to surpass our high watermark as far as exhibitors are concerned. We've never had more exhibitors participate in Printing United before. So that's equally exciting. As far as the attendees are concerned, anything that beat the year before is really a goal in my mind. I'm happy to report that as of today, we're trending 25% over year over year where we were last year. So we're really looking forward to a very exciting expo.
Yeah, will this be the biggest Printing United Expo so far?
Yes, by far. We've actually had to even scale down some of the alliances activations to make room for exhibitors. We're just so pleased to have every major segment and a couple of new ones really represented on the floor, from industrial printing to apparel decorating, wide format signage, label, different kinds of packaging applications. We just couldn't be more pleased.
That's great. One of the things I like most about the event is that it really presents the whole printing industry under one very large roof. For attendees, for instance, somebody from wide format or somebody from packaging, what's the advantage of them being able to come in and see this other equipment from these other segments?
Sure. Look, I think as a printer, you understand the language that's already on the floor, right? There's a couple of universal languages in our craft, whether that be color or substrates or, the way that we work with our clients. What's really neat is that language then translates into other things that you see. So when you're walking around the floor, you're looking for inspiration. I can virtually guarantee if somebody's from one segment, they'll be walking the floor and they will be inspired by things that they understand what they're looking at, but clearly are already belonging to another segment of the business, which makes it very exciting for the attendee to try to then take what they're seeing and the inspiration that they have and put it into their own environment. So which clients do they have that potentially already use something like what they're seeing, or potentially could they take what they're seeing back to their clients and enhance those relationships? So the opportunity for growth to, really learn across the segments is very unique to Printing United, but it's one of the biggest pieces of feedback that we get from the attendee experience.
Yeah. And I think, one of the things that Printing United has been talking about for a while is that idea of convergence, and people aren't just staying in their one lane so much anymore. They're occupying multiple lanes. Obviously this ties into that approach as well, correct?
Yeah, 100%. Look, I don't think, if you go back 30 years ago, there's somebody just printing t-shirts, right? That same person today is doing all kinds of apparel decoration. Maybe they're doing things on socks and hats and hoodies, scarves, and other kinds of products. So as their businesses evolve, I think you can take that back to our interpretation on the equipment side, as convergence kind of helps fuel that. So digital technology really democratized the ability to use technology a little bit easier and then apply that technology like a Swiss Army knife to multiple things. So if a wide format printer could just make beautiful signs, well, if it can print on some texture and a little bit of two dimensions, what else can it print on? Can it print on a golf? Can it print on a pen? Can it print on a cap, on a mug, and things like that? So we've watched this explosion of applications coming from a lot of this technology, not just in one particular segment, but from the one particular piece of equipment, which has allowed them to get into multiple segments of the industry.
Yeah, great access points there. So while the expo is organized and presented by Printing United Alliance, there are a whole bunch of co-located events and partnerships with other industry associations and groups. What are some of these events and groups that are partnering with Printing United, and what do they bring to the expo?
First of all, they bring enthusiasm. So let's start there, right? When you think about some of these co-located events like Franchise Services or Alpha Graphics or Speed Pro, bringing their franchisees and the people that work for each of those franchisees to the expo for inspiration and education. Some of these organizations are doing things on either the front end and the back end of the expo so that they can get together beforehand, they can learn and they can play in the sandbox of the expo, then they can
Hmm.
get back together again and brainstorm and feed off of each other and what they're seeing. For other organizations like the implant community, IPMA, or even GPI, which is an industrial printing association, these organizations continue to grow in their presence at the expo with, I think, even the latter GPI having one of their board meetings on site for the first time. So, I think people are realizing that the expo and the member driven mission behind it is just a place where people gather. And it doesn't really matter what part of the industry you're from. This is the safe place to come play in the sandbox and be inspired to grow your business.
Yeah, I love that idea that they can have their meetings, they can do the connections they need to do, make their decisions, but it's done in this environment of creativity and possibility, and also with easier access to industry experts who are also on hand.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So as with previous Printing United expos, the expo floor has more than vendor exhibits. It has a lot of those, but it also has different activations to help PSPs better understand their industry and its opportunities. So can you describe some of those special setup areas that are taking place on the show floor?
Sure. Yeah. If everybody's making a list here, I'll give you a short one. On the show floor, of course, we have the Printing United Alliance membership booth and its lounge. Keep in mind that in that booth is also all of our affinity partners, and those are organizations that have special products and services to help you run your business the way that it needs to. In addition, we also have subject matter experts in the member lounge and area so that you can talk to somebody in HR if you've got something of a burning HR issue you want to get some constructive feedback on. But then we also have somebody from the regulatory department who can help you with things that might have be prevalent in your shop as it relates to OSHA. I'll talk about iLearning in just a second, but we also have something on the floor called the apparel zone, which is really a maker space for everybody who's a apparel decorating community. We have the PDAA zone, which is as much a display as it is education. It's where people can get certified from the Alliance on the craft of wrapping and doing window clings and things like that. The AI pavilion is brand new to the floor this year. We're super excited about that. I'm sure everybody is messing around with AI. I'm probably messing around with it a little too much, according to my team. But the AI pavilion is going to be a free space for people to come in and get inspired. I think we're up to 9 organizations that are going to be located in the AI pavilion to just try to teach as many people as we can. What does AI mean to the printing industry? And how can it be utilized for growth and inspiration? And then one other area I'd like to talk about is a very crafty name called Spill the Ink, which is going to be a zone on the floor a couple of times a day, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. That's really just for people to come and talk about things that matter to them. Whether it's color or whether it's substrates, it could be tariffs. It really can be anything. We're going to have, I think, around 10 to 12 rounds in this zone that are going to be available to people to sit down with subject matter experts in these different areas and just shoot the breeze and talk about what's important to them. And you never know who you're going to find when you're at a round table. I love doing them. They inspire me every time I do them. I'm always trading a business card with somebody, and some of those conversations started 20 years ago. So I'm glad to see that back on our floor. And I think Still the Ink's going to be terrific part of the floor experience going forward.
I have to say, I'm really interested in that AI pavilion this year. That area is evolving. It's happening so fast right now that it's tempting to stand back and scratch your head, but it's too late if you do that. So This is a
I
great
agree.
opportunity to, there's so much talk about AI today, but how does it affect printing and where is that taking us? So that'll be a must do on the trade show floor, definitely.
AI is a place where, unfortunately, we're watching the plane get built as it's taking off. And, there's going to be some caveats that come with that, probably some tragedies as well. But we're experiencing firsthand the power of AI across customer service, across content, across education. And now I'm seeing it in workflow and redesign of floor shops. So
Mhm.
AI is not a if I will do, it's a how do I do it? When do I do it? How much resource can I put behind it? So I just keep waiting for those conversations to take place on the floor.
Yeah, fantastic. This year, education continues to be a strong element of the expo experience. I know there's a lot, but can you briefly describe what's on offer this year?
Sure. To do justice to just to one or several of the 50 plus education sessions that we have, I have to talk about them all as a unit. Our team does a terrific job, Dan, you included, in really scouring the content engagement and what's taking place throughout our data warehouse. People sometimes don't understand that we're really tracking everything. We're tracking how our newsletters are engaged, how our websites are engaged. We're tracking what is well attended at our micro events and our macro events of this year, but also past years.
Mhm.
And, we do all of that to try to give the best content we possibly can. And, we get hundreds of applications that come in for people who want to provide some sort of level of education or a story that they want to tell at the expo. And it's difficult to get through all of them because everybody has something to contribute. Taking all of those applications and then subjecting them to what we know is important in the marketplace and what content is being consumed at a faster pace versus others. That really helps us to craft the best possible education tracks we can. And I would like to mention that on the enterprise side, if I carve out one track, it's because we did make a home for the Explore community,
Mm.
who unfortunately their association had to close its doors earlier this year. So we were able to partner with them in bringing, I believe it's 6 direct education events for that community and make sure that they felt like they had a home within the expo since their event wasn't going to be taking place. And there's another group that's meeting in an adjacent hotel just before the expo to make sure that all of their members feel like, and suppliers who are exhibiting on our floor, feel like that community is going to not miss a beat with the changes that they've had.
Printing United Alliance is the leading member-based printing and graphic arts association in North America with over 70 years of history and more than 20,000 members worldwide. We're here to support printing professionals like you with the tools, resources, and information you need to grow your business, sharpen your skills, and expand your network. Whether you're a printer, supplier, student, or educator, we've built our community to serve everyone who's passionate about the future of print. An Alliance membership is a smart, cost-effective way to stay current on the latest trends, connect with industry leaders, and give your business the competitive edge it deserves. Head over to printing.org/membership to learn more about the memberships we offer. Let's move the printing industry forward together.
And I know there are the paid sessions, the 50 plus sessions, but there are also sessions going on the trade show floor, correct? Like, for instance, in the AI pavilion, it's not just people having things to look at, but there are learning sessions going on there and elsewhere.
Yeah, that's correct. And not on different than Spill the Ink, right? Where there's a couple times a day where people are going to be able to get together and teach one another things, or the education that you can get within the Alliance's membership booth. Right next to the membership booth is also going to be that AI pavilion. And their mission is the same, is to teach, right? So while we've got those 10 organizations that will be located in there to help inspire a couple of times a day, actually a few times a day, we're going to have education sessions that will be on a stage with some moderated panels, and you'll be able to glean some education there. Inside of the apparel zone, we also have education. So we really try to drive the sharing of knowledge throughout the expo experience.
I know last year's introduction of G7 Plus opened a lot of opportunities for improved color calibrations across printing segments, including wide format and other areas. It's really growing. And at the Expo, the Alliance is presenting the G7 Plus Exchange. So if I'm at the show, what can I expect from that event?
Sure. The G7 and G7 Plus Exchange is brand new. We've always wanted to have a user group experience for the folks in the G7 community. And we have had a color conference every year, but we also recognize, like others have had, that this is the week in printing. So when there's an expo the last 3 days, there's an opportunity to build things on the front and the back for different communities. And the color community is certainly one of those. We've got brands that are coming to this. We've got printers that are coming to this. We have suppliers to this community, and even hardware suppliers that incorporate the G7 standard into their software and their hardware. So we've actually had to cap it. So I would love to tell everybody to go to printingunited.com and make sure you register for the G7 Exchange, but it is sold out. We really wanted to set some good expectations this year for the event, and then we want to deliver a great experience. I can't imagine that it doesn't double its size for the next year, but I believe we've already crested 250 attendees for that, which will take place the day before. And the G7 Exchange is really just a place for people who thrive in that environment and who are responsible for what color really means in the printing process to the brand. It's about brand integrity and repeatability. To the printer, it's about repeatability and trust their clients. I think that it's already off to a screaming start. Can't wait to see what we do with it, not just this year and the feedback that we get, but I can already tell this is a staple of the expo going forward, and we're pretty excited about it.
So again, this year, Women in Print Alliance will have programming activities for its members and for women professionals in the industry, providing a place for women to meet and share. So what's on tap from Women in Print?
It's a great question. Wonderful part of the expo. I think the best person to answer all of that is Elizabeth Lyons Black. But I will mention she does have some great programming in store. And one of the unique things I think she's doing this year as part of her kickoff is actually she's inviting men on a panel to talk about the perspective of men in the industry trying to support women in the industry. She really is a very inclusive leader for that group. And they had wonderful feedback and participation last year. And she's doing a terrific job putting some programming together this year. And I know there's still some room. We've planned for some exponential growth for her. And I can't wait to see what comes out of it. Matter of fact, I've got some friends that are attending it. And that's one of the biggest things they're looking forward to is the camaraderie and the inspiration that they get from other women executives at the show.
Okay. And I know obviously education and learning, going to see the latest technologies, all the expo floor stuff is a huge attraction for the event. But one of the biggest takeaways for a lot of people tends to be the people they meet, the people they have exchange with. So networking is and should be an essential part of the expo experience. So how can attendees use the event to build their networks, and what is the expo doing to facilitate networking during the event? Also, I guess, is there anything happening in the evenings that I should plan to attend?
There's always something happening in the evenings, and I don't think you have to look very far. I've been attending these industry events in our printing industry for over 25 years. And if I actually go back to the smaller ones in Philadelphia, when I was just a young teenager. So I can definitively tell you that I can recall memories from each of those events, and I can recall people who I met at each of those events and people that I still see today, the next event. Networking is the reason that you come to these events, in addition to inspiration. And, you really need to come prepared. I think people who just show up to an event, they're going to have a great experience. But those people who get the materials ahead of time, download the app as it comes with the registration, that look to see from their networks who's going to be there, and then seek, inspiration on the show floor and meet new people during the day, and then try to seek those people out in the evening. We do offer an after dark program during registration. It asks you if you want to be a part of it. We provide those spaces for people to get together. We pre-book different restaurants and clubs throughout the host city so that we have a prescribed place where people can go meet other people from the expo or attending the expo. These things are so important. I was with a fella a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about the times that we spent in Chicago 22 years ago when I had just really come back from working overseas. And he remembers us. He was a client buying him McDonald's instead of a very expensive steak in a steakhouse city. So, we laugh about it. He and I are still friends today. We text with each other often. So networking is really important, not just to what you're doing today in the industry, but what you're going to be doing 20 years from now.
I know from experience that the Printing United Alliance booth serves as sort of a central hub for the show. It can be a great place to make connections, get questions answered, and learn more about the Alliance, of course. But what would you say are some of the highlights in the booth that make it worth a visit this year?
Yeah, and I'll go beyond just the booths, Dan. I think that being a member or within the community of Printing United Alliance is your gateway, right? And your gateway into the industry is facilitated by everybody who works at the Alliance. So on the show floor, as you said, that activation is the place that you can call home. But there isn't a person on our team, and we'll have approximately 80 staff members at the expo to welcome, to facilitate, to ensure that the experience you have is the experience that you need. So if you're lacking information, if you are looking for something, you don't know who to ask, as you're walking around, I really encourage you to look for anybody with a Printing United Alliance tag on their, on their clothing or their jacket, or maybe they're wearing a t-shirt. And if you're not in the booth and you still see that, please stop our teammates and ask somebody the question that you're asking. We are there for you. We are there for the suppliers, and our number one job on site is customer service. So if we can't find the answer for it, if we don't have the answer for you, it's our job to help facilitate you finding that answer either at the show or beyond. And that's really the power of membership and why we are there at the Alliance to serve all of our members.
And I know there's some sort of special VIP treatment for members while they're at the expo, a place to sit down, a place to relax, but also other benefits too.
Yeah, I think that's the full member experience that people talk about, right? So we have all kinds of information available inside of the booth. In addition to the activations with our affinity partners, the iLearning team is there talking about all the courses available in the iLearning catalog. But then there's also that member lounge, right? So there is a member lounge, a place that we invest every year now on the floor that it's got walls around it. It's got one of our staff members checking people in, but yeah, there's a little bit of an upgraded food and beverage in there. I wouldn't say you're going there for lunch, but to have a snack, sit down with a colleague, rest your feet a little bit and take some notes on what you just saw and, make sure you're looking at your to-do list to see what you've got coming up over the next few hours each day. Please feel free to stop by the member lounge.
Great. Well, that's a lot. So let's say I'm a PSP and I'm just on the fence about whether I'm going to attend in Orlando or not. So Chris, convince me. What's the imperative need for me to be there?
Yeah, so I've actually said this before that I know it doesn't translate well outside of English, but since this is in English, I'm going to say, if you don't want to grow, don't come to the show. And I really do mean that. I have seen something for everyone on our show floor, whether you're the owner of a business, whether you're the head of sales, whether you're an account manager for a client, whether you're the head of HR, you are the head of production, you're the head of pre-press, or you work in any of those departments. You will come to the expo and you will leave with knowledge that you can take back to your teammates and help your company be a better company. While I want all of the owners there, they're owners for a reason. They got to where they are for a reason. But now it's time to hand the reins over. So while I do want them to come, I also want them to empower their people to be on the floor, learning on their behalf and helping build the relationships that they built 20 years ago, the next 20 years worth of clients. So again, if you have to take one soundbite, you don't want to grow, don't come to the show, but you will grow if you come to the show, and let us help you do that.
Well, that worked. I'm planning to go. So
good. I'm glad, Dan.
Yeah. Hey, what are a few key things I can do to prepare for the event so I can really maximize my time when I get there?
Sure. First of all, I would register ahead of time. Don't waste your time on the show floor, standing in line, waiting to fill out your forms. Fill all that stuff out ahead of time. I know it might take a little bit of time in the your lunch break or your coffee break or the evening or the weekend, but really, it'll save you some time on site, and it'll get you right to the heart of the expo. So that's number one. Number two is to download the Map Your Show Planner, which is an app that helps you see the entire show floor right in the palm of your hand. You can create a list of companies that you want to see. A new feature within the app this year is also going to be an opt-in messaging app. So you could opt into a messaging service that will allow you to see other people who have opted into it, communicate with them directly through the show planner. And you know what? That's probably going to happen. There's going to be some people that you didn't get a chance to get to because you will be inspired and you will get sidetracked on the floor. So building that list electronically that you have going forward, going to be great homework for you afterwards. And then finally, as you walk onto the floor, you need to grab a show guide. While a lot of this stuff is available digitally, there is nothing more that I like than to grab a show guide when I'm sitting down, resting my feet, or when I'm in the bus on the way home in the evening and looking through the show guide to see what's new on the floor. It always shows me something that I missed because you can't read every article. You can't read every magazine. And you can't see 800 and let's call it 20 exhibitors in 3 days. Let the tools around you help you navigate the floor and find access to information, when you've got the time.
Okay. Final question for you. Where do I go to register?
PrintingUnited.com. And, that is also the name of the Alliance, but the Alliance is printing.org. The expo is printingunited.com. And you can go on to there to register. And if you can't find a free registration code, simply go on to LinkedIn, or contact one of your favorite suppliers who's going to be an exhibitor. They all have free registration codes that they can provide to you. Make sure you're using those codes to make sure that your expenses are as efficient as they can be for the show. We provide that as a service to all of the exhibitors to allow their clients and their prospects to register free of charge for the expo floor. And we're already seeing thousands of those codes being used. And if you need some help at the last minute, contact Dan and you can contact me. I'm happy to help anybody get to the show.
Great. Well, Chris Curran, thanks so much. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Great, Dan. Thank you so much for the time. I appreciate you carving out part of your day.
You've been listening to the Wide Format Impressions broadcast. You can find more great content at wideformatimpressions.com.